are these people?
So we got Syria. Holy crap. You want to talk about like a mix of who the hell knows what's going on? Because I couldn't really make heads or tails of all this. There's a lot of history and a lot of complicated relationships in the region, a lot of groups that I'm not that familiar with, or at all for that matter. So I decided,
a lot of accusations going around.
Go ahead. So yeah, yeah. So I decided.
Like, continue.
Accusations. Go ahead.
No, continue. Your turn.
But I decided to lean on some of the experts and some of the Indie Media Award honorees. Hey, in Mintpress News, they're an Indie Media Award honoree, and so is the guy who wrote this article, Robert Inlakesh, 2024 journalist for Top Journalist. He says here, and he's again not the only opinion. There's a lot of different opinions coming out, and very often you see a lot of people within a space kind of form a consensus opinion. That's not going on here. Everyone seems to have a different take on this and bring a little something different and have their own reasoning for it. And it's gotten some people upset even. It got a couple of people canceled this weekend, as I think it should have, because they just kind of show their asses. But I don't want to get into that. I want to show this. Within hours of Bashar al-Assad's deposition, the Israeli military launched an unprecedented offensive that seized more land in the Golan Heights. The Trump Heights. We're going to call it the Trump Heights from now on. Israel now openly seeks to implement a buffer zone plan that will seize more of Syria's territory, a plot that's been over a decade in the making. Make no mistake about it. Again, this is Robert Inlakesh over at Mintpress News. In February 2013, it was reported that the Israeli government had been presented with a buffer zone proposal that would extend as far as 10 miles, buffer zone, right, into Syrian territory. This would, of course, mean violating the 1974 disengagement agreement with Syria, which saw Israel withdraw from a series of areas in the Golan Heights. Technically, but of course we know that they never really withdrew, and they always maintained spies and tried to place spies there. And there were tons of Israeli spies in Syrian prisons who were caught that were let out this week. By the way, we're going to get to that.
Possibly a few of them in the government too, if I'm not mistaken.
Maybe.
Not sure.
Maybe. So they violated the 74 disengagement agreement with Syria. All right. Later on that same year in 2013, the U.S., along with its allies, Israel and Jordan, sought to establish two separate buffer zone areas inside southern Syria. Syria. We're going to take the oil. We'll take the oil. All right. The first was set to extend from the west of Katana and areas in the Damascus countryside down to the Jordan border, working to clear any Syrian presence from the Golan Heights. Unbelievable. The second buffer zone was set to extend from Daraa to Jabal Druze along the northern Jordanian border. This plan was to be enforced through the deployment of 20,000 American soldiers who would be stationed in Jordan. How convenient that King Abdullah would allow them to do that.
Yep.
This buffer zone model inside Syria was to be modeled on the good fence strategy implemented over 2 decades in southern Lebanon. Although Israel would eventually have its own forces stationed there, it would rely heavily on local militia forces to operate such a system. Why they would cooperate with them, I don't really understand. While this was labeled a buffer zone strategy, in reality it amounted to a military occupation of Lebanese territory using right-wing Markanite Christian militias to do all the heavy lifting through self-described Southern Lebanon Army, SLA. All right. Hey, I know that guy, Greg Stoker. All right. they talked about this. In 1967, Israel illegally occupied the Golan Heights from Syria, which would end up triggering off-and-on violence between the two sides as Israeli forces routinely send settlers and military vehicles deeper into Syrian lands, of course, with no punishment or or penalty from the international community, attempting to expand their territorial control. Former Israeli Defense Minister Moshe Dayan even admitted that Israel could be blamed for over 80% of the incidents, which inflamed tensions around the demilitarized zones between Israel and Syria ahead of the 67 war. Yeah, they were trying to take that territory. During the 1973 October War, they call it the Yom Kippur War in the Jewish community, that was launched by Syria and Egypt in a bid to recapture their own occupied territories from Israel. When the tide began turning militarily after Washington began aiding its allies in Tel Aviv, Israeli forces pushed even further into Syrian lands. All right. The situation even triggered Iraqi President Saddam Hussein to send his army to reinforce Damascus as the situation grew dire for Hafez al-Assad. I think that was Bashar's dad. Israel later annexed the Golan Heights, which was rejected by the international community, who deemed it illegal through the passing of UN Security Council Resolution 497. Despite this condemnation, Tel Aviv was never punished for violating the binding resolution and then renaming it after Donald Trump.
Yep.
Right? The war in Syria that began in 2011 then presented the Israelis with a new opportunity to claim territory that would solidify their control over the resource-rich Golan Heights. In 2013, while planning to secure a new buffer zone in southern Syria, Israel began providing support to at least a dozen opposition groups that were fighting against the Syrian Arab Army. That's Assad's army. And I find that really interesting because all I heard Obama's entire 2 terms from my rabidly Zionist father was what an anti-Semite Obama was. Yet if he was going after Syria like this and allowing Israel to do so and arming and funding it, how the fuck can you say that? This support came in the form of propping up its own proxy group called Forsan al-Julan, while providing light weapons, medical aid, and financial support to a range of other armed militia that included the Al-Nusra Front, very famously took on the white helmets, I believe. In recent years, the Israelis have been working on contacts with groups belonging to the Druze community, Druze minority religious sect in southern Syria, even sending proposals to Moscow to create a Syrian Druze state bordering Israel.
Doesn't look Druish.
That's another buffer zone. And again, balkanization. Remember, we talked about the main goal for this whole thing is balkanization. They want to cut this up into small pieces.
What that is? Yeah.
Well, balkanization is cutting up an entire larger region into smaller countries to remove their power and have them fighting with each other mostly, rather than having them fight, then unite, band together, and fight Israel together. All right.
Makes sense.
Each of them gets their own little country, their own little regional area. You know, they talked about this again 15 years ago. They wanted to give Assad an area. They wanted to give the Kurds northern Syria that bordered Turkey, right? They wanted to give the Shia, I believe it was, the part that bordered on Iraq. They wanted to slice this up and carve this up into different regions and areas and zones, because the smaller they are, the less they can fight against the big world powers. That's what they want.
Well, they've also been attacking every military installation and, ammunition depot. And I mean, they bombed something recently that, like, massive explosion, class 3 on the Richter scale,
I think I have that here. I saw that tonight. Vanessa talked about, Tartous gets an earthquake level blast.
Earthquake, which is nuts. You know, I mean, people literally thought a nuke could went off, I think.
All right. But Israeli tanks continue to advance further into Syrian territory, meeting no resistance from the newly installed government in Damascus. That government has yet to offer any opposition to Israel's invasion or its hundreds of airstrikes carried out across Syrian territory. It appears that Israel's long sought-after goal of expanding its occupation into Syria has for now succeeded. For now. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know about if it's not allowed this recent incursion, yes, but like he's talking about the new Syrian government or whatever, right?
Yeah, the new one. Well, I mean, if you can call it that, but let me close that up. But Asa Winstanley posts this one, which is weird. I wonder why the Qatari-funded Middle East Eye would disappear this excellent article by Jonathan Cook from their website without an editor's note or even the pretense of an explanation. What?
Well, they definitely have a big reason to when that pipeline is going to go right into their
Where's Jimmy going? What the
straight
fuck?
To Europe.
Because that's what we need with that, which is what the fuck with that.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Jonathan Cook, another Indie Media Award honoree, as is Asa Winstanley. We got a bunch of them here. Again, only going to the best of the best, the smartest people in the region that know what they're talking about, or in Britain as well. And here's that blast that you're talking about from Vanessa. Reports of massive explosions in Tartous, Syria after Zionist aggression. The blast was so big, it triggered an earthquake alert of 3.0 on the Richter scale. All right?
Yeah,
and a mushroom cloud. I mean, that is...
The one over to the right.
This one?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, a little better. Wave.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
And it's not the only one. I mean, they've been going after all the... So, in the story me and Colin talked about Wednesday, they were targeting anti-air defenses first. Right? So, like, it's... Which is exactly what, the Millennium Game is one of the rules they took away from a supposed, Iran, China, Russia alliance or whatever, right? Was being able to defend your airspace. So Israel's just looking to make sure that it doesn't matter what Syrian force wins, they will not have the means to fight back. That's pretty much all this is. So
Bad Cookies
while they take more and more land,
Bad Cookies is predicting that that's a tactical nuke. Maybe.
I don't think so.
That's a serious...
It's just, I think they hit an ammunition depot. That's what that looks like. So,
and then Vanessa also was
we'd have a lot more problems.
Vanessa was also on TLAV with Ryan again this week. She was on last week, but this time she's debunking this whole nonsense. Clarissa Ward from CNN.
CNN. Yeah, which got community noted, right?
Oh, dude, so badly debunked that this guy, his fingernails alone, like, if you were starved and for 5 days, your fingers wouldn't look manicured fingernails, this guy. Like, they had already evacuated the hospital, the prison, and then all of a sudden she finds some, sure. All right. And again, you can go to thelastAmericanVagabond.com or thelastAmericanVagabond.substack.com and watch this full hour and a half long interview, because it is full of information and way more than I can bring right now.
I think Fee said today that they're looking at permanent occupation in Israel.
Yes.
Right now.
So basically what had happened...
I don't know how much land they're willing to take. What's stopping them?
Was inside Syria... Assad, and again, you can watch Colin and Reef's coverage from Wednesday night about what happened, but that effectively it looks like a deal was made between Russia and the U.S. and Iran and Turkey, and a bunch of different countries, that this pipeline's probably going to end up going through Turkey. It will be Turkish run, going through a bunch of different places
from Qatar to Europe or whatever,
right? And it looks like Syria was exchanged quietly under the table for Ukraine, or at least the parts of Ukraine like the Donbass and what's the other part that I'm thinking of, that they had fought over in 2014, that they had originally said that was Russian territory, but Ukraine was fighting. I can't think of it now.
Crimea.
That's it. So Crimea, and so likely that Crimea and the Donbass will end up part of Russia, Ukraine, and that will end up with a ceasefire likely after Trump takes office. And then you'll see more stabilization after they ethnically cleanse Syria. Unfortunately, you'll see all the Catholics run out and driven out. You'll see the non-seculars driven out. Syria will go much more extreme Muslim temporarily, and then Israel will bomb them and call them terrorists too. That's the plan. And take all the land. Greater Israel Project, everyone. Keep it in mind. Don't forget the focus. That's where this is going.
From the Euphrates to the Nile. That is what they want. And probably more than that. Then it's world domination after that.
Again, they're going to take part of Egypt. They're going to take all of Jordan. They're going to take Lebanon, which they're already in. It's just, and there's nobody stopping them. And now they're horse trading around it. Now the question is anybody now making deals on the Ben Gurion Canal? I think you covered that a year and a half ago.
Yeah, that sounds like much more of a plan now. I don't know what the Yemenis are going to do. That's the thing. And I don't know if we're going to try and retake land back in Syria by any group or organization. That still could be on the table, So,
well, Assad is now
might ruffle a lot of feathers.
Resting comfortably in Russia. I don't know if he's ever planning on regathering the troops to try to make some kind of a run at something, or if he's just going to chill and accept asylum and live out his days living in Russia. I can't imagine he's going to go away forever. It
would be nice for someone to ask some pointed questions to him while he's there.
Maybe. We know a few people that could do that possibly. And there are, again, watch Ryan and Vanessa. Vanessa lived in Damascus for the last 15 years. I would take her word over just about anybody else as someone who has perspective in the region. So by all means, follow Vanessa Beeley. Again, both Indie Media Award honorees, both Vanessa and Ryan at TLAV. The people who I trust the most to give me the truth and to break down the narratives and the lies that are being told both by Israel and the United States and Britain. And Australia, too. All of them. As Bad Cookie says, we are the bad guys, the USA are. That is correct. Let's go show everyone the amazing INN Supporters Wall of Fame. Thank you so much to everybody who has already contributed and supported INN and independent media and supported the media they want to see. Because we don't have advertisers, we don't have corporate donors or supporters, corporate funders. We don't read promo codes. We don't pitch product. Although we do have a merch store now. We've got you guys. So again, thank you so much. We run a value for value system. So if you feel like you're getting value out of the content here and from all the other shows on the network, as well as the daily updates, the Substack newsletter, everything that we do, anything you can do, the ways to do that, we're on that board right there. And that's Cash App, Ko-fi, PayPal, Patreon, or subscribe at innnewsletter.com. You see all that going along the bottom. You can find all the links at indienews.network. And thanks for watching and for supporting independent media.